Hi, I'm Pearl, and this is the Freedom Series, Part 7. And what I really want to talk about is letting go. Now, pretty much every spiritual practice... Oh, by the way, I'm in the garden. Do you like it? I'm a very lucky person, yes. Pretty much every spiritual practice is about letting go. And one of the things we talk about in yoga and Buddhism is that it's the way to the self through the self. So it's letting go of oneself, the ego self, in order to find our real or authentic self. And when we do that, we realize that we're all connected and that no one of us is better or worse than anybody else, that we're all equal and we're all special and beautiful and wonderful. But one of the difficult parts of, say a spiritual journey or just getting through the day at the moment is actually letting go of that connection. That sounds really strange, right? Because we're all seeking connection, and I know I'm pretty good at connecting with people one way or another. And so although I find this time trying in terms of coronavirus, I also can reach out and connect with people virtually on the phone. In fact, one of the hardest things is I go out for a walk and I seem to connect with people. And it's hard sometimes to remain at a distance. But about letting go of that connection. So it's one of the things I realized when I was traveling, and they were in Southeast Asia, and sometimes I would kind of wake up to certain realities in the world and connect very deeply with places and people, and sometimes feeling other people's pain and feeling other people's difficulties. When we realize, we're all connected and there are no others, it becomes our pain and our suffering. And so that's one way of understanding and learning about compassion. But at the same time, we can't continue, to feel everybody else's pain, because it's unbearable. And that's why, some people will call that sort of the distance that we create between each other, the separateness, separation. We'll call that a type of denial. And it's true, but it's something that we need, because otherwise you're just trying to eat an elephant in one go. It's just, you can't, I think in very practical and real terms, very often we just have to focus on the person who's in front of us, or just focus on ourselves in order to get through the day. And so we can't be distracted by everything and everyone, because we're not there for everybody. Even if we say yes, I always used to say, Zumba's for everyone, everyone's welcome. I can't fit that many people in the room. Even if I was online, you can't fit that many people in an online classroom. There's a limit. And there's a limit to, as an instructor, who you're right for. Or what that particular class is appropriate for, or who that particular class is appropriate for. So we often talk about, I think the thing is, once every concept, every spiritual concept is like, I remember once saying, every life coaching technique is there to help you, but it might not be the right thing for you at the right time. And so all these understanding spiritual concepts, there's a time and a place, there's a time and a place. And sometimes our compassion gets in the way. Our want to help people gets in the way. And as instructors, we have to learn to step back and let people do for themselves, let people learn. And it's funny, I remember hearing a story about one of my teachers, Dom Nagariz. He had a group of apprentices, and then one day he just said, "No, bye-bye, go away." I'm sure he said it much nicer than that. But very often I feel that about places I've been to, that it was a time to leave. But you never truly lose it. You can't lose. Even if you let go of people, you can never fully lose that connection. But there are times when we have to say goodbye. We have to say goodbye. And right now, I was having quite a good day, and I went onto Facebook, and somebody had written, and I'm sorry if you're my friend and this is you, had written a really long thing about the current situation, and it was so, whoa, like that. I was like, whoa. And I'm not saying it's not true, but it was like trying to eat an elephant in one go. It was like, trying to redecorate your whole house in one go. You cannot hold up the whole world, And one of the beautiful things about our capacity and our capability for connection is that we can feel the world suffering. We can feel the world suffering. And that's beautiful that we have that level of connection. But there is a moment when we have to let go. And the way I put it, I remember when this is very clear to me, when I was in Southeast Asia and I was sitting by a swimming pool trying to, deal. And I remember there's a film called The Piano. I don't know if you ever saw it. And at the end, the piano falls off the boat, and this woman's foot is attached to a rope, and she's pulled down. I don't know if you saw it. It's beautiful imagery. She's pulled down and down and down by this great big heavy piano. And she just lets go, and she's thinking, I'm just going to drown. And, she's not had the best life, I think. And then a sudden moment, she suddenly goes, no. And she lets go, and she lets go of that rope, and she swims up to the light, up to the boat, and gets back on the boat. And that's the thing about the world suffering, is that, we're taught so often that we have to look after everybody else. And maybe that's true. And we're taught that, we have to have compassion for others. And I think one of the things that we're all doing at the moment is checking in with the news to see what's going on in the world. But there's a point where it makes us sick. There's a point where it's too much for us to cope with. There's a point where no matter how much we love someone, we have to let go of their suffering, even if it's just for a night, We just let go and swim up to the light, swim up to joy and beauty and life and how it feels to be alive and all the good things, And I'm not talking about anything superficial. You can enjoy superficial things, that's up to you, but I mean just remembering how it is to feel alive and how joyful it is to be alive. And we have to let go of thinking that we're saving the world. Every action we have has an impact. Of course it does. It's so important how we behave right now. So important. But that doesn't mean that we can do everything, because we can't. I love you, but you can't do everything. I love you, but you can't go to every single place in the world. I love you, but you can't cure everyone around the world. And that's not your job. It's not my job. It's not my job to teach Zumba to everybody in the world. No, we have thousands, probably millions of instructors to do that now. And it's so hard for people who are, health workers, because I think we've got used to a culture of putting people under crazy pressure, putting them in situations, intolerable and difficult situations, until it becomes a kind of normal. And it's not. It's not. They should get to go home at a reasonable time and have a life and be able to recover from any difficulties they've had in the day. We all do. And I say this because I know I've put myself in difficulty and in danger so many times. I've put myself in physical danger, I've put myself in emotional danger, I've put myself in financial danger by trying to rescue everybody. And yeah, sure, I've had terrible levels of depression and post-traumatic disorder from not being able to step back and not being able to step away and not being able to just enjoy my life. And that doesn't help anybody. And that's what I'm looking at today when I look around and I see people having such difficulty, and I say, just let go. You can put it down. Put it down for 5 minutes. All the weight of the world and all the difficulty and everything that you're feeling and however upset you are about what's going on in the world, let's do it together, just for a few minutes. Just for a few minutes. Just let go. And you don't have to replace it with anything. You don't have to. Just put it down, and just listen to the birds sing. Just listen to life. Just hug a tree. Feel that life surging through you. And remember that you're alive. And we are life. We are life passing through our bodies. And my teacher, Don Miguel Ruiz, says the most beautiful thing. He says, you are the force that opens the rose. Everything in this garden, you say, well, why did this flower grow? Why did this flower bloom? And, it's just magic, isn't it? It's magic. It's beautiful. It's just a lot of good things in life. Just find that spot up high, just the joy of life, of being alive. And just let it, when you get into water naturally, if you stop struggling, you just float up. It's just, if you imagine you're in that water, just let go of the fighting and the struggling and and just let go of everything and let your body just float gently up to the surface, to the light, and just lie there and just feel that beautiful sense of just being supported and floating in the sea. Just remember, you can float up to the top anytime. I know it's overwhelming. I know it seems overwhelming at times. And you have to take time for yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And sometimes you have to just say, no, I can't do this. No, not today. No, I'm sick. No, I've hurt my back. And just let go of pushing through and trying so hard. And let go of trying to feel everything for everyone else. I think sometimes we feel it's a kindness to... And it's a kind of funny thing because it's true, but it's words, isn't it? When we sit there and we listen to another person, when we hold a space and we just give them the space to feel how they want to feel, that is a beautiful thing. But I don't think it really helps people if we just sit there and read stories and read bad stories about people. We're not listening to somebody. We're not holding their hand, even, over the phone. We're sort of being compassionate, but not really. And even though sometimes we're listening to somebody, the kindest thing to say to them is, you have to stop. I can't hear anymore. And this is something that happens to me a lot. It's a familial thing, do you know what I mean? It happens to a lot of people, a lot of my family. If I go to the bus stop, or a train, and I just sit there and, somebody would come up and the next thing I know, they're telling me their whole life story. And I've come to understand that's part of my DNA, that's part of who I am, that's part of being a shaman. It's like, it's like a therapist's DNA, where as soon as somebody meets you, they say, I don't know why I'm telling you this. You just, something about you makes me tell you, and And so I suppose growing up, it feels like it's a kindness to listen to somebody, isn't it? Kindness to let them tell their sad story. And I've got some wonderful friends who I know that it meant the world that they could tell me something awful and dark. But it takes a toll to listen to that. There's a reason why therapists get paid an awful lot of money. And you can't do it. I can't do that for everybody who I pass, It's funny, this thing about going out for a walk and being aware and sort of being careful of keeping a distance. Part of that is also second nature to me, because so often I end up having somebody tell me, and sometimes I steer clear of people because I think, I can't hear it today. I don't have it in me to sit and listen to somebody's, big dramatic stories and things. And it's very important that if you're that kind of person, you have to learn when to say no. Especially if somebody, you learn to hear when somebody's telling you that story because they need to share, and they need to trust somebody, maybe for the first time, and share something and be treated well. Yeah, that's really important. But sometimes people, it feels so good that they do it again and again and again, and they get caught in the loop of telling the sad story. That's how they get attention. That's how they get approval. That's how they get comfort. And so, as a really great teacher, which I'm trying to be, you have to learn to say no. You have to learn to say, I've had to learn to say, I have to go now. I'm really sorry, I've got to do some work. I need to make a phone call. I'm going to the toilet. Or just, I'm in silence today. And it sounds really harsh, doesn't it? But it is about boundaries, and it is about being kind, not polite. I keep saying it, be kind, not polite. And I think that's the thing, is you learn over time that it's like having when you have a good friend who keeps telling you this sort of, breakup story or bad story, and you think, you've got to talk about something else now, And if you say to a friend, you say, look, we can't keep going over this again. I think that's kind of kind, isn't it? Kind of kind and doing them a favour. And for the most part, I think most people don't tell their stories enough. For the most part, people don't share enough because it's hard to do, And sometimes they need to change their story. They need to change the tone of story from being a victim to being a hero, to being just a person, and move on. Actually, no, that's not right. Change it from being a victim to a survivor. That's what I like to say. And if you keep letting people tell you their victim stories, they don't get to move on to being the survivor and telling the survivor story. At a certain point, it's got to change. It's got to move on to being a survivor. And one day, we are going to tell the survivor stories about this. We totally are. We're going to sit and we're going to be... I keep thinking of the end of that film, Ice Cold and Alex. It's a wartime movie. And they go to the desert and they finally get to the end and they sit at this bar and they have this cold beer together. And I'm like, that beer is sitting on a bar somewhere in the future for me. Well, I'm going to sit with my friends and we're going to raise a glass and we go, oh man, can you believe we got through that? Can you believe that we did that? And then we'll have to let go of those stories again. But right now, we're in a huge moment of letting go. We're letting go of habits, we're letting go of, a form of a relationship. So we're letting go of a form of a relationship which is, proximity and physical touch very often. Or letting go of a form of relationship with our work. And letting go of just a lot of parts of who we are, who we thought we were. And that stuff will come back if it's supposed to, and if we need it to, and if it's right for us, and if it's really true. The stuff that's true will still be true, whatever we come out of this. But one of the other things I wanted to talk about, and it sounds weird, because I'm being very mung bean at the moment, is money. And our letting go of certain relationships with money. And for some of us, it's letting go of who we thought we were in relationship to money. And it's funny, I was watching, and this can sound weird, I watched Red Table Talk with Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. And in it, they talked about, difficulties they've been through in their relationship. And Will Smith said this thing about, at a certain point, for him, he felt like everything was going right, but his family felt that everything was going wrong. Because for him, he had equated, fame and success and financial success with being a great dad, a great provider. And as far as he was concerned at that time, he thought he was like being an amazing father and husband because of the popularity, because of the money, because of all the opportunities, because of the skill and the talent, that was, and everything that was happening. And he had to take a long time to learn that that's not what his family wanted him for. And I think that's going to be true for so many people right now. If somebody's used to going out to work and being a provider and has certain financial goals in terms of, I'm a great provider, whether it's a man or a woman, I'm a great provider if I make this much money a year. I'm successful if I make this much money a year. And so right now, a lot of us are having to let go of what we thought was going to happen, and who we thought we were, and that we thought that every year we were going to keep earning more and more money. And it's a big thing. One of the things I always say about money is significant but not important. So for me, a lot of times in my life, I've not been able to do certain things because I didn't have the money. And that was horribly, horribly difficult. Horribly difficult. But it has taught me to be patient. It has taught me to survive in situations I didn't think I could survive in. And even now, sometimes I think, wow, I'm not back in that place. Oh, that had its challenges, but this has its challenges. And at least I'm not there. But very often waiting for money to come kept me in a place for longer than I wanted to be. And the moment that money arrived and I could move on, or I moved on and the money arrived, whichever way around, I knew that I had been there for a reason, and in a spiritual sense, the money came at the right time for me then to take the next step and the next step. And so I say money is significant but not important. So it's wise to keep an eye on the money and the pennies, because a lot of us, we can just let go of money and not think about it and not let it be important. But then there are times it's kind of like a sign. So for me, it's important to keep an eye on it because I can just forget about it. And the other thing I would say about money is that if you let money be your God, it will be your God. If you let it be your be-all, end-all, it will be your be-all, end-all. But that has a habit of making life very difficult. And there's a great guy who writes about money called Ken Honda. and he wrote a book called Happy Money, and I really enjoyed reading that, and it has a lot of good things in it. And what's his name? Alvin Hall, I think. He writes some great stuff about money and our relationship with it, and how it's a bit like, if you've got a problem with money, sometimes it's a bit like having a problem with food. We substitute it for love. We think when somebody gives us money, it's like giving us love. And you imagine a lot of people, when they want to show their admiration or love for somebody, buy them a present, buy them something expensive. And there comes a point where it's like, that's not enough, as you could see in the story of, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. There's a point where sometimes, you get all the shiny things and you're not getting what you really want in a relationship. And, the thing is, we're trained, like all the adverts, show her you care, show her you care. Ugh. Why don't you just show her you care? Like, don't go and buy diamonds, just show her you care, Crazy life, hey? But the other thing is, I was thinking about money, and money is not the only currency. And one of the currencies we're seeing, and I find myself getting attached to, is on social media, on number of followers and friends and likes and things like that. And I find myself getting, because I'm thinking, well, I want to see how many people this is reaching. I want to see if it's worth doing. And the same thing with my book sales. Even when I've got the free books, it's like, how many people have downloaded it? And I'll tell the truth, I had one that was being downloaded loads last year. And when I saw how much it was being downloaded, I got a bit scared. I got a little fear of success going on. Even though it was free. It's like, if I'd been selling that many books a day, I would have totally freaked. So sometimes doing the free stuff is really good, because it kind of, you can freak out in terms of, oh my God, everyone's like seeing me and I got all these many downloads or likes or views, and I can step into that and get comfortable there. And then there's like, oh my God, I'm making so much money. Oh, the fear of success in another way. But I don't want to, it's not so much about that. I got a bit sidetracked. But for a lot of people, there is and it's weird, because it's kind of like getting people's attention, isn't it? It's like having a number of viewers, having a number of followers, having all this kind of stuff. And what I realised in the last few years is, if you want to be an author, if you've got a certain number of followers on Instagram, basically a publishing company will snap you up. I don't know why, because they never seem to buy my books. But it's that kind of thing, that there's an idea that there's a kind of the influencer culture, the celebrity culture. If everybody knows us, or we can get people's attention. And so I get that all the time. I get emails all the time saying, would you sell this product? Would you do a partnership with this? And would you do this? And I'm like, no. I mean, I'm waiting for somebody to offer me something really good. Maybe I'll do it then. But the thing is, we have to let go of worrying about that kind of thing right now. Or be aware that, this may be an opportunity for us to see where we might have been going in a direction that wasn't really true to us. So if our goals have been to get, 1 million followers, why? Isn't it, I always say this as an author and a writing coach, my job in being a writing coach and working with people is to help them to write the book they want to write. Not, critically acclaimed book, not financially successful book. To write the book that's in the heart. Because for me, that's success. And I think then if the critical acclaim and the financial success and the being in the charts comes along, it's so great. It's like so cool. But I know from when I was, working in jobs where I was, getting a lot of success and a lot of money, it don't mean a thing, really. Not if your heart's not in it. And sometimes that kind of success is even worse, because it kind of traps you somewhere you don't really want to be. And I found that when I was teaching, and sometimes I would go and teach a master class with somebody, and it would sell out, we'd make all this money, everybody loved it, it was great. And then at the end I would just have this kind of like hollow feeling, just kind of like, why doesn't this feel good? Why doesn't this feel right? Because it wasn't from my heart. My bit was from my heart, but the overall thing wasn't something I really wanted to be doing. So sometimes we have to let go of those aspects of things and just come back to what's true for us. Let go of what other people think, let go of the money, let go of the social pressure and the peer pressure, and do the right thing. Just let go, and times are challenging right now. So look, it's not private. It's private, but it's not private. So I got a bit distracted. Well, that might be all for today. A little bit shorter, but I'm going to let go of it being an hour long and just enjoy. I hope it helps. You can't ever let go of who you truly are. You can pretend to be, you can put on a mask, you can fake it, but you are you underneath it all. And it's all about being free. It's all about letting you be free. And letting go of all the things that don't serve you in this present moment. Okay, hope it helps. It's love. Bye.